Hey, everyone, and welcome to the weekly catch-up podcast. It is Wednesday, January the 8th, 2020. It is episode number 14, people. I'm your host, Carson Gibbons, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. B-Rad Colvin.
We're back, baby. Episode 14.
He had to remind me what episode it was.
Yeah, man.
Oh, quick revision to last week's episode. We're just going to continue on with episode numbers, so disregard what we said about season 2. It was season 2 in our heads and in our spirits.
Yeah.
And thanks to David Mwansa for gracing the cover of season 2 with his amazing intro.
At David the Psalmist. Check him out.
All right, you ready to get into it?
Let's hit it.
It's the weekly catch-up with Carson and Brad. Here to talk about the week we done had. It could be sports, religion, politics, we keeping the tabs. You would think they work for Gucci, how they deep in they bag. Get your facts up, on Wednesday we'll be counting the stats up. So turn the volume up till it's maxed up, you know the drill. So tell a friend to relax up and chill, we back up. This is the weekly catch-up.
And we're back. What's going on, Carson?
Cut to Brad. And we're back. Thank you for that lovely rendition of the Weekly Catch-Up Podcast by David Mwansa. This is NPR, and I'm your host, Bradley Colvin. Today we'll be talking about making a murderer.
Yeah, sure.
Wow, I'm like, you want to like go into it, and you're like, yeah, and we're back.
Let's get to it, man.
I love it, man. So
well,
what's been up, dude?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't even think we'd do an episode because really nothing's been going on since we last recorded, right?
You thought we... What? Okay, I get your jest now. I'm like, wait, the world is technically ending. I'm not up to speed on it at all because I've just been working like a dog.
Well, we'll paddle through it.
I hope that you've been able to watch the news more than I have because technically, like, bombs are dropping and stuff.
Listen, man.
Here to unpack it is Mr. B-Rad Colvin.
We're already jumping into the... We're already dropping into the bombings?
Yeah, so, I mean, let's talk.
Right.
Sports news. I want to talk about... Let's lay out an agenda. We never do, like, a table of contents or organize our thoughts verbally.
Yeah.
Sometimes we come with our own disparate show notes, which, you know, are great. But we never, like, lay out an agenda. We're not going to follow this, but I want to talk about sports. I want to talk about the Cowboys.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy. What's good?
You want to just go into it?
Are we not laying out our thoughts?
My bad. All right. It's been a long day, and I'm so appreciative that Brad has amended his Dallas commute time for this podcast every week.
Yes.
And I just wanted to give you a shout out, give you a quick appreciate, because that's you amended it by 2 hours, really. Like, you show up before I do to the studio.
It's no big deal.
Just since I've started working back in December. It's actually my 1 month anniversary tomorrow.
Aww.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
Anyway, so I greatly appreciate you, buddy, for doing that. That is really awesome because I don't want to miss this, but I'm a little bit more foggy brain than usual, folks, because I've been working.
Foggy brain episodes are the best episodes.
So the agenda, I definitely want to talk sports, Dallas Cowboys, the Century Tournament of Champions. I want to talk politics. I want to talk personal updates with you.
We got to talk Australian fires.
Yeah.
We got to talk about certain individuals that have been donating. I don't know if you've heard. We'll get into it. I see your face.
I saw something, yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about Ricky Gervais and his speech at the Golden Globes.
The monologue.
Oh, man.
We have Epstein updates? We do.
I think I'm ignorant to those, so...
Okay, so it was covered on Joe Rogan because 60 Minutes did a 15-minute segment on it this last Sunday. It was tucked in because everybody was watching football.
Okay,
And if you were in my household, the Century Tournament of Champions on Maui mainland. I really only like watching PGA Tour and some football. But anyway.
Respect.
What were we talking about?
We were just going down our list of topics that we would like to do today.
But circling back to Australia, I saw something about that. I want to talk about Iran. I want to talk about impeachment. I want to talk about everything.
Let's get the mostly political stuff out of the way so we can just...
let's work into it.
Okay.
Well, what are you rare? You host. Go.
All right.
What do you know? What do you know about politics?
Not anything. That's why I want to get this out of the way. Just kidding. We're very credible.
Listen, we don't have to talk about anything. Like,
It's the show about. This is the. Maybe I've made this joke before, but Seinfeld was the show about nothing, and we're the podcast about nothing. I think I've made that before.
I don't know. Maybe in passing, but I think there's something to be said about that. And I love the way that David like wove that into the intro, where it's like I'm listening to it, and I realized that he used kind of some of the boilerplate lyrics from our show, essentially, in our like podcast description, and he was really like dead on hitting some of that stuff. And I realized that I hadn't edited that since we recorded like our first episode. And the awesome part is that it still rings true to this day.
Yes.
You know, which is pretty dope. So go
on. Okay, what we need to know about the Iran's attacks on the U.S. They attacked some U.S. bases in Iraq, right? Well, I guess we need to go back even further.
Well, yeah. So
because this happened less than a week ago. Yeah,
well,
okay.
Didn't this start by Trump apparently authorizing an attack at an airport or somewhere in
Iraq?
In Iraq,
on Iranian.
It was basically
leader.
An Iranian cabinet member, but you know they claim that they're state-sponsored terrorists and that this person had the blood of hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans on his hands, and that it was a good kill. Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, came out after this strike that I think it killed. It obviously killed people around him, but this guy was like pretty high up in this essentially terrorist government, is what we were saying as Americans,
right?
And then he just ended up taking a lot of flack for it. I felt like from a lot of it felt like the right wing media was apologizing, not apologizing for it. They were bringing out all the warriors. They had so many vets on that were like, I think that this is a great day. That man personally killed, a service member of mine who was in my unit. And, they, can we talk about this? Like, Fox News always comes on. They have somebody that's like a bomb victim, like a shrapnel in the face type victim. And they're like,
bombs are bad.
Iraq vet reacts to news of Soleimani. I think that's his name, or that's how we're going to call him on this podcast for the next hour. I'm glad that Soleimani is dead. Like he personally, Soleimani. Okay,
yeah, let's call him that.
And it's just they have the beautiful blonde, as Rush Limbaugh calls them, like news bimbo on the left hand side, interviewing this person whose face is disfigured. And thank you so much to them for their service. And like,
absolutely,
we're not. No shade. We're not throwing any shade on any of those people by any means. It seems a little fetching from the news. And I'm about to contrast it with the left-wing media, which is basically just a bunch of like Fareed Zakaria, Max Boot type people that are like, what was the real, result of this?
Right.
How does this affect our standing? Are we technically safer as Americans?
World War III.
So fast forward, Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, goes on all the Sunday morning shows and is readily accessible to the media and basically makes it known that there were imminent like dangers and threats and perhaps like planned attacks or something like that were being strategized on, planned like as this person was traveling, and that it was imperative to take him out at this time.
Yeah. And
that it was a good thing. And that's what I know.
Right. I'm also, I guess I had read a couple of days ago that this might have also been a strategic move for Trump to place a tax on them with a re-election coming up, and just to like help gain more votes for those that would approve on attacking the Iranians.
I honestly, I'm not an expert here, people. I'm hearing this. I'm a pretty big news buff, at least when I wasn't working. I just don't have as much time to stay up on it. So please know that I don't really have opinions in some ways about a lot of this. Like, I'm just reacting to it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing on this podcast. But, I mean, how far out can you not do something as president for it not to be interpreted as a re-election bid?
Yeah.
Like, these election cycles are all the time now. And so basically what we're doing, we did this to Barack Obama. we stripped him ineffective as president of his presidential powers in nominating Supreme Court justices and getting them confirmed for like the last year or two of his presidency at least. And I know that the Republican Senate blocked the crap out of Obama throughout his terms. And, you know, I'm not sitting here claiming to be a Democrat by any means. I'm also not a Republican.
Yeah.
But, you know, Obama was a pretty great president and a pretty good representative of us as people. You know, like we all want to be Barack and Michelle, you know, because you know they're genuinely in love. They got 2 quality daughters. Actually, let's circle back to that because don't they have one that's acting up?
A little bit. I mean, it depends on what you consider acting up. Like, she's kind of having a normal teenage life, I guess. She was caught smoking marijuana. I believe in a state that was legal, but I could be wrong on that. But so depending on your stance on that, she was acting up there.
In a state that's legal, that seems so weird that you would report on that.
I could be wrong. It could have not been, but I think it's just because it's dude, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they're just catching her doing normal growing up stuff,
like, and
publicizing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not stuff that you would always approve of, but they're more like demonizing. Like, it's like the right wing is just like, oh, she's caught doing this, and it's really what any like somewhat mischievous little teenager would do. It's not that big of a deal.
So let's get back to it because I feel like we abandoned the Iran story a little prematurely there, or just a little detour. But essentially, Pompeo comes out and defends it. He advocates for it, and then this week, or I guess this has all happened in the last couple of days, right?
Days, yeah.
So, what did they fire some missiles that like totally missed their target on purpose?
Iran did.
Right.
Yes.
So I feel people are saying that we're talking like Trump, dude. We're like people are saying, I'm hearing on the street.
Trump.
A lot of really credible people out there are saying, they're saying that Iran, that was their sign of aggression back. That they were like, they fire the missiles. It doesn't actually hurt any American soldiers at the Iraqi bases that are housing them, but it was basically they knew that it would be enough that Trump might just let them off the hook and not escalate the situation, and they could just kind of talk big, I guess.
Right.
And that's been my perception.
And I believe at this point, like both sides, both the U.S. and Iranians have backed down for the moment. Now, who knows?
Exactly. Perfect. That's right. So we got to kill a guy, and then they fire some missiles off. They get it out of their system.
No casualties.
And then we forgive them.
Right.
Just because they didn't oops.
Yeah, no oopsies. So we're good. Yeah, I guess we'll wait on the World War III hashtag a little while longer.
I love his like I saw like
those memes were killing me.
I haven't seen them.
I'll show you after the podcast. But dude, World War III was trending for like 2 days, and people were just making jokes online, just posting memes left and right. It was great.
I don't really understand why you would say World War III. Like, you understand that like we could wipe Iran off the face of the earth in mere moments with our powers if we needed to.
Yeah, people are.
So I'm not
concerned
about World War III.
Yeah, they're misinterpreting because it would be world war, so like the entire world, which isn't going to be happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're making the point that it would just be a bilateral conflict and not the entire world.
Yeah, it might be a war, but not a world war.
Yeah, but everybody's allied up to a certain extent. You know, if America does something, typically 22 other major countries are typically in agreement and have representatives there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Canadians have fought with us in every... they're as dirty as we are.
Yeah, shout out.
They were like, "Who? What? There's WMDs in Iraq? We're going.
Yeah.
Come on, eh?
What's this? What's this war about?"
Well, that tickled me, folks.
All right.
So, did you catch the speech today? Were you able to watch whatever his announcement was about?
No, I didn't.
Okay, cool. So, no further insight into any of that with Iran?
Other than it just seems like it's escalated very rapidly on both sides. Like, I mean, this just goes back to, I mean, every conversation that we've had about the left and right wing, like, they're really just bickering at each other. They're trying to find faults within each other. and they're standing their ground for what they believe rather than like finding common ground. And so I don't really have any additional thoughts regarding that. It's just the continuous, bickering.
Yeah, and it like cheapens the whole process and makes you wonder like when did it stop being America really being good and like going out and defeating the Nazis and
Yeah.
doing stuff like that.
Well, and it's like I see the left wing commenting like, "Oh, Trump, the Iran, they set these missiles off on us, and now there's going to be casualties because Trump, said it was okay to take out what was essentially their vice president, more or less, and then like we didn't have any casualties, and so it's like you're
Trump's a
you're
thug
just finding
gangster.
stuff to complain about, and I'm not even like a Trump supporter, but
Yeah, if you're left wing, like Obama was the drone king.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he killed so many people.
They either turned a blind eye or they just didn't really care about politics because they were happy with who was in office, and so
they were happy with the presentation layer.
Right.
Obama, he could go back in the Oval Office and light up a Newport and start calling everybody names. And, he was known to go on profane tirades, but, didn't tweet like that.
Yep.
Whereas our president is, I don't know what he is.
Yeah.
He didn't sound like he was having a good day today. Like he sounded like he was, like he needed some Lipitor or something. Like,
what do you say?
He was just like having a hard time enunciating his words.
Oh, well, that could just be his false teeth shifting around.
You know something about that?
I don't know. I've seen many speeches of his where he's slurring his speech. I just assumed it.
I don't think they're false teeth.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm sure they're veneers and like dolled up, but I don't think he has dentures by any means.
Oh.
People say that he has an addiction to Sudafed and that it functions like as a stimulant, and they show comparison speeches to show like, hey, at this rally he probably did a bunch of Sudafed. It stems from the have we talked about this?
No.
It stems from the photo that he posted in the campaign after he got in trouble with Hispanics for basically calling all of them rapists and murderers.
Yeah.
You remember his tweet where he had a taco bowl on National Taco Day, and he goes, "I love Mexicans." He literally tweeted, he's like, having a taco bowl on National Taco Day. "I love Mexicans!" exclamation point.
Yeah.
And it's him in a suit in his, Park Avenue or his Fifth Avenue office. And
he wasn't wearing a sombrero, was he?
Dude, it was bad. He's just like doing his 2 thumbs up and like big smile. He's got a taco bowl in front of him. And he's like, "I love Mexicans." So in that photo, apparently one of the drawers to the desk is opened, and there's about 58,000 bottles of Sudafed, or boxes. You know how it comes in like the thin.
Fantastic.
There's like, it's just lines of
chilling.
Sudafed, and people are like, uh-huh. And there was another investigative.
Investigative.
You've done this with me before, haven't you?
Maybe.
Investigative.
Nailed it.
Investigative.
Perfect.
Man. Dude, it doesn't matter what time of day, how many cups of coffee I've had, I struggle with that word.
Yeah. It's a toughie.
I'm so embarrassed. There was an investigative journalist that did this undercover.
Sound it out.
Dude, investigative.
Sure. That's another way.
Is that the same thing, though?
Yeah.
Can I say
yeah,
that?
yeah. It is. It is.
Will I be looked at funny?
Nah, man.
There was an investigative journalist that did a undercover sting and found that Trump was prescribed some sort of weight loss stimulant alert pill from a Dwayne Reed in New York City for a number of years. Because he doesn't do any drugs, alcohol, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do anything. But he might have a stimulant prescription of some sort.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people have said that. But the dude is like 75 years old. He looks great, in my opinion. Like, I would love to look like that when I'm 75. Maybe a little thinner, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big dude, but I ain't trying to be like that thick. Like that, he's like thick with like 4 C's.
Anyway.
Thick.
I mean, if Iran shapes up the way that it's looking to go, that he just took out like their VP And like, again, no American blood is spilled. In all of these scenarios throughout his presidency, he's always come back and said, screw the Democrats. Obama used to give these people money. I'm killing their people
Yeah.
that want to take us out. And no American blood was spilled. And it's
Right.
like this theme that I feel like he's very non-interventionist and like not really. He spent so much money on the military and like giving them bonuses and raises and like buying new
Yeah.
equipment, but he doesn't want to use them
And so I will say,
proactive, like in war.
how many trillion? It was like 3 trillion, I think.
What's your question?
The amount that he spent on the military.
Well, I know that like national defense annual budget is somewhere in the neighborhood of like $750 billion. I don't know
Yeah.
what the increase
I
was.
believe
it was
I saw the
astronomical.
total was 3 trillion. And so a lot of the left wing's complaints were, man, you could have used like a portion of that money to get, Flint clean water and, take care of the homeless within our own country. And like they were basically just pointing out all these issues that could be fixed with a lot of that money.
I'm going to say something crazy here.
Yeah, by all means.
Will you? I'm going to say something crazy. It's actually not my responsibility sitting here in Dallas, Texas, to look out for Flint in any extraordinary precautionary way. If your water is messed up, fix your water. Like, this is local government. This is small government-minded people. Like, the federal government is tasked with doing all this stuff that is totally outside the scope of what the federal government was set up to do. The federal government, think about the amount of infrastructure and government that you have in any of the towns that you're sitting in listening to this podcast. Okay? Like, even here in Dallas, we have an entire police force. We have a council. We have, representatives. We have committees and task forces and mayor and all sorts of local government.
Yeah.
And then we send local representation to Washington to like do the big stuff, like balance the budget, national defense, make sure the states are doing the right things together, Supreme Court, whatever they do, like the basics. But the amount of services rendered by the local government far outweighs that of the federal government.
Yeah, no doubt.
But the federal government has so much money, so much power, and it's in the national spotlight. Meanwhile, you know any of your local city councilmen's names?
Nah.
Cool. Does anybody listening to this podcast? My dad was on the Planning and Zoning Commission of Plano's board, I guess.
Okay.
And I was so proud of that, because I was like, that's a political position.
Yeah.
I was like, you're doing it dirty, Dad. Like, no, he was very upstanding, but I was very, of all the different associations and because he'd served on the board of a lot of different things and charitable, items and what have you, a church, etc. I was probably more proud of the Planning and Zoning Commission just because I was like, that is like, you're
gonna get stuff done.
You're in government. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. That's awesome. My whole point being, it's not our responsibility to fix Flint's problems. If the federal government needs to step in and, take a look at the corruption with Flint's board and its chamber and its city council and its mayor and different superintendents, that might be the appropriate measure. But that's how management deals with stuff. Like the director of marketing doesn't go to the marketing coordinator and fire them per se. Maybe the director of marketing or the VP of marketing in this situation is having the director of marketing fire the marketing coordinator. Like there's a chain of command. Yeah. And like, why is it that you live where you live and don't complain about the water, and I live where I live and don't complain about the water? Is it because people around us are upstanding enough to try to make a living and pay taxes and keep their cities and communities nice? Yeah. But a city is just a cluster of people.
Right. So,
like, if it's not a good place to live, this is another thing that... Whoa, that scared me. I had a Washington Post article up on my phone ready to read you off a news article, and the video started. The whole point being that why do certain cities flourish? Why is Dallas moving in more residents, per year than a lot of these other big major cities? Well, it's favorable economic, situations like lower taxes, no state income tax, lower cost of living,
Job opportunities.
job opportunities. There's so many new jobs going in here. Like it's no secret that the new Salesforce tower went up and that there's a lot of industry occurring in Dallas. Why isn't that happening in Flint? Why can't you leave Flint?
Yeah.
Why don't the rednecks, and because I'm going to be labeled as being a bigot or, some sort of like, economic Republican, or I am economically Republican in many ways, but I'm going to be labeled as something negative because I'm focusing that towards an inner city situation. But in the same vein, if you live in rural Mississippi and the factory went out of business 40 years ago, get to a city, learn to code, bro. Like, I could get banned from Twitter for saying that. Learn to code, bro. Like, do something else. Become an Amazon driver. Drive for Postmates like everybody in LA does. Like, this is ridiculous. Take some, proactivity in your life and do something about it, and understand that that's not a federal government situation. They're not the ones that come by and fix the pothole in your street. That's local government. Like, elevate it to them first. Hold them accountable first. Be involved with them first.
I like that.
Like, it's not, what are you supposed to do about Flint?
Me personally?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tweet them out.
Thoughts
and prayers.
The federal government is our elected representatives.
Yeah.
They work for us.
Yeah.
What? So if you're having a problem in Dallas, are you going to go to the people of Flint and their representatives and be like, you really need to be clued into this situation in Dallas, Texas?
Right.
They're going to need all the Flint representatives,
Yeah, I'll be real. Whenever the first problems with Flint came out and it was trending and everything, like they said, donate here. I donated $50. They still don't have clean water. So, like, if we all donated $50, I don't know.
How much of that money was put into promoting that campaign?
Right.
Like, charities, it's like, do you ever look at the charts on like how many cents out of each dollar donated go to the actual mission or services rendered to?
Yeah.
Do you?
Oh no, sorry. I'm agreeing with you. Like, good point.
There's a ranking. I'm gonna look it up.
I like it. But yeah, just putting money into something and then not seeing any return, especially for an issue that's not directly affecting me. Like, I did it. I put in my money. I felt like a good person, but I'm not just going to pour my life savings into it personally. You raised some good points. It's like, leave the town, leave Flint. If you're not happy about it and you're not contributing to make it better.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at United Way's donations as an example, and it says about 79% of that total, they raise, I don't know what they raise, a lot. Yeah. About 79% of the total goes to charities, while 9% accounts for fundraising and 3% goes to operating costs, according to the Vice President of Marketing. This was in 2013, though. Okay. I think the Red Cross is... We only use a small amount of every dollar for fundraising, as well as the management and general expenses that are required to conduct the work of the American Red Cross. This is why we should set up a charity, dude, because we could be like, we're doing this for whatever fringe group we're trying to benefit. Right. And then we could be like, operating costs are just ridiculous. Like, we had to put the jacuzzi next to the podcast studio in the office because that's integral to the mission of this charity. And the fundraising and operating costs and the marketing and promotion that goes into the awareness that will ultimately yield the most charitable dollars to benefit our fringe group. You could spin it however you want. These statistics are actually higher than I was thinking they were going to be. I'm sure that if we went to other charities, though, it would not be. I think somebody was saying something. I want to see Susan G. Komen's because that one I think was listed as maybe questionable. Komen for the Cure, a 3-star rating out of 4, and lists the percent of the percent of its expenses spent on programs and services at 81.6%.
Would you say that's good?
Hold on. Charity Watch gives the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation a C+ rating with program percentage of 62 to 77%, and the cost to raise $100 of $12 to $27. Huh.
I don't know about that.
I mean, I guess if I have $12 and you're going to give me $100, sure,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I heard that one. Yeah, it's looking like that's rendering some negative coverage.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to what I was originally going to say.
Oh yeah,
Unless you're about to dive in.
Nope, I was about to segue out.
Okay, cool. Going back to the Washington Post article that scared the crap out of me. Pelosi says House will vote Thursday on measure to limit Trump's military actions regarding Iran.
Oh, well, yeah.
They want to make him a dummy president as they're impeaching him in full faith that they're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
And I think slim hope that they're even going to win.
Yeah, probably not, right?
Dude, I'm so excited, though, because the Iowa caucus is like mere weeks away. It's like February 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, we'll be reporting on that in just a couple of podcasts.
Yeah.
And that's really going to start to let us know whether or not the Democrats have a real contender.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, which was weeks ago, Pete was really surging there. How is Bloomberg doing? I've been seeing more of his ads, and he's actually talking in them for once.
Yeah. You would know better than myself. I, to be honest, haven't been keeping up with it.
Right on. What were you wanting to talk about?
Well, I mean, we were talking about donations, and so I was going to segue because this ties into what I was going to be talking about regarding the Australian wildfires. So if you haven't heard by now, Australia, they've lost millions of acres. Over 1 billion animals have been killed due to these fires. And it's like just this devastating catastrophe.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we were talking about donations. And so what I had seen was some people donating money. And one that caught my eye or that was trending on Twitter was this woman named Kaylin Ward. And she's a nude model in Los Angeles. And
what was her name again?
No.
Caitlin Moore? What would you say?
Kaylin Ward.
Kaylin Ward.
Yeah. Don't click on images. So she's this nude model in Los Angeles, and she had gotten on her Twitter account saying that, hey, did. I will give you inappropriate.
Thank you. Follow.
Hey, we're trying to be professional here.
All right, keep going.
All right.
What's up with Australia?
She said that she would be donating $10, or if you donated $10 to her, she would give you a set of her photos, I guess, and she would be donating all of that money to help Australia's cause and helping with the wildfires. And she raised a lot of money. First of all, give me your thoughts on that while I look up exactly how much money she raised.
I mean, it just sounds like people helping people, if you're asking me. I don't know.
Dude.
It's hard because the guys are like, I want to see your photos, and then
estimated $1 million.
Oh, man.
And that, dude, that's...
You've trapped me. I'm caught between a rock and a nude model.
Oh, Carson.
I'm just saying, like, what do you want me to say? You, like, cue this stuff up, and then just... It's like, what do you think, pervert? You know, like, how the heck am I supposed to react to this?
Yeah. I'm
on the verge of swearing here. I can't.
Hold
you're like, okay, so there's this nude actress model, and for $10 you can see everything and help the koalas. What do you think? Come on, man.
Okay, so she tweeted out, I'm sending my photos to every person who donates at least $10 to any one of these fundraisers for the wildfires in Australia. Every $10 you donate equals a picture for you from my DM.
Yeah.
And she has raised at least $1 million.
Are these personalized pics? Where like because my question is, why doesn't the first guy get the pic and just tweet it out and save everybody the time?
Can't you be a little bit more optimistic than that?
I'm just saying, look at the honor of all these fellows doing individual donations and not just sharing it amongst themselves.
Right, saints.
There's so many positives and negatives in this story.
Yeah. And so
depending on who you are.
Yeah. So okay. So
that's my question.
Why don't you give us some?
Well, I'm saying like $1 million divided by 10. Mm-hmm. How many individual pics is that, or donations, or DMs, or whatever? Because if it's just a pre-canned nude photo or something, or a set or whatever, that the guy gets DM'd for the donation that's supposedly going to the Australian wildfires, like, does every guy just get it and kind of be like, it's like, this was just to me, like,
I mean, I would.
Why are there so many individual uniques? That's the problem. I mean, if we want to talk about something, that's been the thing that's ravaged the porn industry. Like, as a complete whole, I don't know if we can even talk about this on this show.
I mean, I'll let you steer the boat.
I'm not trying to be explicit
crass
about it or crass or anything. I'm saying that
it's just a reality.
The internet and streaming has affected, first of all, the pornographic business is it's typically the foremost in technology. It's the reason why cameras and streaming and audio and the internet and sharing and file sharing, all of these things, maybe not exist, but were accelerated to the rates that they are now. And the capabilities to airdrop something instantly to a friend in a GIF, that was probably born out of some sort of pornographic,
lustful,
technology spreadsheet. Yeah. And the funny thing, working in software, I've been approached by porn companies that wanted to use my services in a variety of different hats. Like, not me, the company.
Oh, I thought they wanted your photos.
Yeah. They're like, we want you to audition. Wow, we need to get off this quickly. But no, the whole thing was, it's funny because I've interfaced with like developers and different corporate people in porn companies that were so professional, it didn't matter what the product was.
Right.
To them, they would say right off the bat, we understand if the adult nature of our end product is a deal killer for like your business or your credo or whatever. However, the little known fact about porn is that, floors 1 to 10 are white collar. They're pushing paper. They got spreadsheets. They're doing P&Ls. And then the 11th floor is like the only icky floor. You know what I mean? Anyway, how did we get on that? Oh,
we're talking about the donations.
Anyway, that's an interesting thing. Was that your whole story? Just that happened?
No, because I was also going to jump into, there are other celebrities that have also shared, like, so Elton John and Chris Hemsworth, they've both donated $1 million as well. I know several other celebrities are getting in on it. But
to do what?
I just...
To like get more water, like to fight the fire, like what?
I don't know, but I bet Flint is pissed.
They're like, hey man. Never mind.
Anyway, to be honest with you, like, I just thought it was an interesting thing because porn is typically viewed in a negative light, and I personally don't agree with that industry either. But I did think it was interesting that somebody...
You don't agree with it?
I'm not supportive of it. Anyway, just the fact that somebody from that industry is using it for good and donating a lot of money, I just thought the contrast between like the profession and the cause was interesting.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the advent of social media and especially the iPhone, like, you couldn't take sexy photos back in 2004, 2008, unless you were
for
like
yourself. Yo, my Motorola Razr,
it just
took great 2 megapixel.
I'm telling you, like, and I think about that with this generation. Like, think about the Anthony Wieners of the world that are just always, sexting or, in the DM or whatever is occurring. That is all made possible by technology, and that wasn't always the case. Like, people used to have to go out into the field and, have a session with themselves to a cloud or something. They didn't have these on-demand tools, and I feel like the um, there's so many different gray areas of porn. I feel like you have the girl that will send you photos for a donation. There's also like what do they call it when you like screencast or something? Like a web chat. What?
Oh, video chat. Oh, like
Yeah, but what is that called?
uh.
She's like a screen girl or what?
Oh, sure. Like
What is the word I'm looking for?
to be honest with you, I don't know.
Webcam.
Okay. Oh, okay.
A webcam model.
Oh, like a live video.
Yeah. But there's so many different variations of that, and I'm not saying this from personal experience, honestly, because I don't think that would be a good time by any means. But there's all different types of variations of that. Like I've seen cocktail waitress friends of mine that they start to they hit the gym one year and they kind of come into their own and they get real sexy and they start posting uh, like more and more provocative pics.
Yeah.
And then one day it just pops up that like, hey, support me on Patreon and I'll send you something.
Right.
Or I just did this spread with this photographer, and if you want like the real deal, check out this little bit.ly link. And I'm like, I know these people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy. So there's that type, and then there's other types where like couples, I think actually this was newsworthy. Pornhub released like their top. They have like a trends analysis that they do every year, and it's like this really interesting thing where they show you like the most search categories and all of these different things. And the number one category for porn in America is amateur. It's like couples that will live stream themselves having sex.
Interesting.
Or doing whatever variation. So the democratization of it has stripped all money making capabilities from most of these like porn actresses, because if you don't own the production company, it's just like any other media entity. If you're just the paid talent, you're getting ripped off,
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I sound way too knowledgeable about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to add. But
I think it's a fascinating thing.
Yeah,
I really do.
Like I said, just the contrast, but like
the contrast between what? What's your take on it?
I mean, being
not on porn, but on this girl with Australia.
Well, just being like more of a conservative type person in that regard.
Yeah, knowing that your dad is our first listener every week, like this makes this more complex. I realize, and my parents too.
I mean, that's not exactly what I'm saying, but just in my own like moral beliefs, it's like I'm not supportive of that industry. But then to hear they're using it for good, it's hard to argue against that. It's like good job. Like I have no comments on it.
So
because it's like what is our local church doing to help? I mean, obviously they're doing stuff in other areas of the world.
No, I think that's a valid point though. Like unless the church is doing feeding the homeless and like providing real services, sometimes I'm like,
it's like what is
you're continuing to spread whatever variation of propaganda you were raised with dollars that could solve the Flint thing or the Australian thing or whatever.
And I'm not even trying to like church bash or anything like that. I'm like, because I know like
I was a little bit.
I know that's why
I think it's a usurped tax-free vehicle in many instances.
Yeah.
And that's hard saying that growing up in a church that, felt definitely marginalized. We weren't popular.
Yeah.
Like not everybody maybe everybody in your street, but everybody on my street was not Seventh-day Adventist by any means.
No, I just know like my local church, the Arlington church is going on a mission trip and they're going to be doing good. I know the Keene church is about to go on a mission trip. They're going to do some good. And so I'm not saying like they're not doing anything to help. I was more just talking about this one specific cause. It's like, okay, well, at least, somebody was using their means and their income to help out. And it tickled me a little that it was somebody that I wouldn't, their profession I wouldn't typically agree with. That's all.
All right. So Brad was tickled by the nude model selling her photos in the DM. So what you're saying is that you gave $50 to Flint and you gave $10 to Caden Holden or Ward or whatever her name is?
No, and you need to not joke like that because I have students that now listen to this podcast.
I need to not joke like the porn star that you bring up? that you're like, here's the girl, here's what happened.
I am just
and I'm
reporting
like,
the news,
when
sir.
I jokingly say,
I am not partaking.
Hey, did you donate?
No.
When you say I'm morally conflicted because it's doing some good, and I say, oh, did you donate? And you're like, line crossed, too far, a bridge too far.
No, man, because I could just give $10 directly to some Australian, cause.
You're like, I'd like to send this hose first class.
If I typed in on Google "donate to Australia," like something would pop up, and I wouldn't need to receive any pictures or anything. So
here's the whole thing, though. Like, you're only donating to the next fire. Like, that's not going to do anything for this fire.
Yeah.
You think they're like, we need more money, and the minute the money comes in on like GoFundMe, they're like, we got more water, we got more hoses. I don't think it works that way.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, tragedy is a marketing opportunity for charitable organizations in many ways. And I'm not saying that in a negative way per se. I'm saying that, maybe the proceeds from Hurricane Harvey pay for the next hurricane. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's a pay it forward type situation, but
I mean,
awareness.
You don't think they can use it to just help rebuild after, the fire's out?
Well, in many ways, if you're not capitalizing on the moment to build awareness, and maybe they use an extra amount of money on operations and marketing and fundraising during times of tragedy when awareness is it's like a warm lead. You call the warmest lead, you work closest to the money. So in some ways, they're doing what they're doing in the right way, but I can paint it in a different light at the same time. Anyway.
All right.
Well, listen, if you DM me at Carson C. Gibbons on Twitter, I will send you a nice fully clothed photo and you can send me some money, people.
What's that money going to be used for? What's the cause?
I'll buy a robe and send you another photo.
Okay. And let's see, segueing. We'll talk about more celebrities. Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes. Did you watch his monologue?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hit me.
I just love the way he's like, I've been here. I've done this. What are they going to do?
5 times.
Fire me? Like, I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, he's like, I'm never doing this again, so we're good.
Yeah, I think that they almost made it worse by so heavily bleeping some of his stuff because some of it just made sense. But the way that I think the number one bit that I would love to kind of bring back up is when he goes, if you do get so lucky as to win tonight, don't come up here and do your whole, political dog and pony show.
Thank your God and so support the causes that you support.
No. He said, well, first of all, he bashes Apple and all of the big streaming services and says, you can't come up here and stand for anything when you work for Apple, who supports sweatshops. Right, exactly. And they had just showed Tim Cook in the audience during that time. And he's like, if ISIS were to start a streaming service, all of you would be on the phone with your agents saying, can we get a reel? Can we get an audition? Yeah. He's like, don't come up here when you support these large entity businesses that capitalize on Amazon workers peeing on themselves trying to make quota. Yep. He's like, you don't have a leg to stand on. So he said, come up here, thank your agent, thank your God, and F off.
That is what he said.
Thought that was so funny.
Yeah, and he kind of started, it was toward the beginning or middle. He was like, let's just, he's like, because he was hearing all the celebrities kind of groan at his jokes and everything. He's like, let's just have a laugh at your expense. He said, remember, they're just jokes, and we're all going to die soon. And then he also...
I thought of you when he said that, by the way.
Why is that? Is that something I would say?
No, I just feel like we had a real heart-to-heart about death the other day, and I'd love to talk about it a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
Can't wait.
Shout out.
Shout out, Death.
Yeah. What's up, Grim Reaper? He also was hating on the Hollywood Foreign Press. He said, maybe talented people of color were snubbed in all of the major categories. He's like, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood Foreign Press are all very, very racist.
Was that a deeper meaning than?
Yeah, because a lot of African Americans got snubbed this year. Like they had a lot of movies and like none of them were picked up.
Well, unfortunately, that's not. I guess in some ways that is not typical of the last couple of years. It feels like if you were,
but I think the typical issue with that is like they have to make like another movie about slavery or something that deals with like racism in order for somebody to be like, wow, I can't believe their struggles. Like this was a great movie. It was eye opening. Whenever there are other, black films where it's just like action movies or anything like any typical, heavily, white male featured movie, and they would receive an award for it. I think that's typically the general argument.
Wow, you really were struggling to get that one out. You're like,
I was.
How do I wrap this up and get out of this without offending somebody?
What?
Well, Black Panther was heavily awarded, even though it was like it would be perceived as like what a white Marvel superhero movie would be. It was like the African American version of that in many people's eyes. Jeez, I feel like everything I say here is just problematic. But my point being that they don't normally give Oscars.
Hence me doing my amazing gymnastic skills, just maneuvering through each of these different topics.
We're over here on marionette strings, just like lifting our arms.
Let's hear two white guys talk about the porn industry and then navigate African American complaints.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. My point with Black Panther is that normally they're not awarding the big awards to action stars or action films anymore. It has to be something different. Like they like what was the Green Book? Did you watch Green Book with Viggo and that actor from House of Cards that I love? I can't pronounce his name off the top of my head.
No, I didn't see it.
Why did I pick the only one where I'm like, I can't pronounce anyway, I guess my point, going back to the joke and like, are there any additional
Oh, you're talking about Kevin Spacey.
No. You butt. Be rad. Don't confuse me.
Mahershala Ali.
Yes, Mahershala Ali. I love Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Oh, I love his affair with Jacqueline in House of Cards.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just...
Whoa, spoilers.
Yo, and I loved Jacqueline. I thought, I was like, Mahershala, you took her from me.
How dare you, sir.
And I've always wanted to be a lobbyist and like cutting deals, and he was just my hero in that show.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been awesome to see his career just take off, like trajectory like a spaceship for that dude ever since that show.
He also played a villain in the Luke Cage series on Netflix and just did like an amazing job.
I think he's got even bigger credits than the ones that we're referencing right now.
Sure.
But anyway, I'm not a big moviegoer anymore, so we'll get back into that. But my question was, what do you know about the Hollywood foreign press? Like, obviously, they're not full of racists, but are they comprised of... What does that mean?
I think it's like just a bunch of older white dudes who like their movies a certain way, to be honest. Like,
really? Okay, so it's not
like,
a diverse coalition.
No, it's not diverse, but...
I thought it might have meant the foreign press that were in Hollywood. Like the correspondents from other countries covering Hollywood. I thought that's what it meant.
Maybe so.
Wow. Do you think anybody gets a kick out of us just being like, we think this is what's going on with politics? Did you catch this
like
10-second thing?
Maybe, maybe not. Like, I'm not going to give you...
We may have this right.
Yeah.
What is this? Like a color commentary show by two guys that have not made it and are famous by other means?
Listen, man, I said maybe, so I can't catch flack for it later. Like, can't pin me down. Too sly.
Maybe. Don't catch me lying. Must heard. All of Brad's little Bradisms.
I ain't never told a lie.
Wow. Man, I've chopped down a cherry tree while I was telling a lie.
Maybe I'm just throwing out some thoughts. You tell me if they're right.
I'm in sales, man. Of course the product does that today.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, well, so I thought that was a hilarious Ricky Gervais bit.
Oh, is that what that was?
Just to cap that thought off.
Man, you look hurt.
No, I'm just.
Okay.
I'm not going to give in to you laughing because
I'm sorry.
We can go on a 5-minute tangent, but I'll bring us back to the point because that's what I do here on the weekly.
That's what
podcast.
You do.
That's my role.
Okay. Okay.
I'm the Bob Costas to your whoever the idiot sports jock is. You're the guy that's like, sir. That was a heck of a run, Bob. And I'm like, I know, former athlete. I know, CTE patient.
Okay.
I paint the picture. You get to react. Wow, that was mean. Anyway, Going back to, you brought up Ricky Gervais.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
been
yeah.
talking about everything to do with the jokes and the tangents off of that. I thought that his monologue was hilarious.
I
He
did too.
caught a lot of flack for it, though, right?
A lot.
From any particular group or just people?
Well, you have certain people that's calling him a hypocrite because it's like, oh, so you don't own anything from China? Like, pretty much everybody owns something from China. So, if you're gonna hate on people, like, you better not be carrying around an iPhone.
Well, I think that he was more saying, like, hey, people, this is who we are. Let's not
Yeah,
humor
yeah.
ourselves, because he wasn't virtue
No,
signaling.
and no, I 100% agree. I'm just saying what people were upset about. Like,
I mean, yeah,
I wasn't upset by it.
is he in a position where if he didn't have to work another day in his life or have anybody ever offer him a job or a payment of any kind, that he'd be just fine? Sure. There's a big freedom in that. It's called FU money.
Yeah.
My parents have been teaching me about FU money for 25 years. And my dad used to always tell me, until you can go take a big steaming dump on your boss's desk, you don't have enough money. Like, if you don't have the ability to quit today over what the issue is, he said, you don't have screw you money, basically.
Right.
Anyway, I've been going for screw you money for 25 years now.
Yeah, man, me too. That's why I became a private school Adventist teacher.
That's funny.
Thank you.
I feel like you do well, Brad.
I do well for myself.
Yeah. I've always thought that.
Yeah.
You certainly, well, we won't get into it.
Yeah.
And do you have any reflections on Ricky Gervais? Are you just bringing it up and being like, yeah, that was funny? Remember that time that Ricky did that thing?
No, I mean, it made national news. Like, everybody's watching these awards, and everybody, typically does exactly what he was telling them not to do, is like go up, give this fake,
so did a lot of
like fake speech.
Award recipients do that?
A lot of them, they would go up there and it was like really awkward, and they would just kind of be like, I think the show ended in record time because people were going up and like not really knowing what to do and like just being like, oh, this is great, okay, bye.
I'm surprised they like conformed and fell in line to that extent.
Well, I mean,
like,
he's up there staring them down.
Yeah, but the job as host, like, I only watched the monologue, so I didn't watch any of these speeches, but I would have thought that some of the actors and actresses, well, technically they're all actors now, that they would have been unaffected by that and just gone on with whatever political statement they were going to make or whatever. And some of those, if they're on topic, like, much appreciated. Like, first of all, you can do whatever you want, but I like the ones, like, I saw ones last year where if it was like the lead female actress in a series or whatever, she would get up and say, I'm proud to support this movement where, we were paid the same amount as our male counterparts, as sponsored by this person. It led to, half of the production crew on this film being female or minority or whatever it was. And I think that's on topic and a good thing. And it probably enriches the overall filmmaking experience to have a diverse set of people. I also would argue that diversity comes in more, like, there are certain black people or Chinese people that you have more in common with than your white counterparts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's diversity of thought as well, and education and background and all sorts of different things. But so you're saying that it was awkward.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No doubt.
Any highlights? Anybody stand out?
There was one Joaquin Phoenix.
Really?
Yeah, incredible actor. He's most recently in The Joker, and so he won Best Actor. And so he was up there for his award speech, and it kind of seemed like he was a little drunk, and he was dropping F-bombs, and he was kind of scolding. Yeah, I mean, he was basically scolding a lot of celebrities too about like how this like thing doesn't really matter.
And yet he's there.
Yeah, and I briefly read something that he kind of had been tricked to go, and I don't know much more about that. I tried looking up his reasoning for how he thought he was tricked into going, but I couldn't find the article.
Growing up, you think that you would like to exchange lives with a lot of hot movie stars, and he's not one of them for me, because I don't think he ever breaks character, and that character is kind of dark and tormented, and I would not want to be in his shoes or his headspace.
No, not at all.
Did you see his Letterman thing back in the day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, dude's dude's
off his rocker.
Yeah, and he's pretty much like always in character. Like I don't
or experimenting for.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Typically, the first well-known person to do this was an old comedian. His name was Andy Kaufman, and he was known for just like going and being in character and never breaking it. Like people didn't know if he was serious. Like only his close friends knew the real him, and so everyone else was just like, this dude is really bizarre. There's actually a movie about him on Netflix. I think there's like a documentary, but then there's also one where Jim Carrey played him, and he also went through like the same thing. So whenever Jim Carrey was like going on press for this film, he was also in character and like trying to mimic Andy Kaufman. So it was just like this crazy thing where these method actors just get really into their roles and they never break it. But that's something that Joaquin Phoenix does, and that's something that he did whenever he was doing this Joker film.
Yeah, well, if you're prepping for the Joker, that's got to be an interesting experience. I mean,
Heath Ledger
didn't live long after his
rest in peace
starring role, which he was amazing in.
Dude was haunted.
Yeah, I hate that. But at the same time, I got to think about it. Like, if you're an actor, if you've been in plays since you were a young child, and now you're cast in all these different things, and you spend a year and a half from the time that you sign a contract to when you announce and like you're in the Batman suit or whatever it is, and then you have to do a billion different poses for the poster and all the promo material. You have to go on an 18-city, 8-country tour to every morning show to promote yourself as that person. And then a year later, you're invited on Letterman, and it's like, well, who do you want? Like, who's supposed to come? Like, do I have a character that I'm promoting now? What do I have to be like? Because am I enough? Like, what if I'm just boring and I'm just good at my job of acting? You know, like, and I think the thing with Joaquin was he'd come out later and said he had acknowledged his behavior and said that it was intentional for like, I thought it was some sort of like experimental research character or something.
Yeah, I think he like had started a rap career, or he said he was going to, and like it was around during all that time. But he actually was talking about his personality and his character at the Golden Globes. He was saying, I don't want to rock the boat. I know typically like I cause a lot of trouble, and he was like, calling out like some directors. It's like, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. But this also ties in with our Australia talk and the fires. So I'm just going to read this quote from him. He said, it's really nice to see that so many people have come up and sent their well wishes to Australia, but we have to do more than that, right? It's great to vote, but sometimes we have to take that responsibility on ourselves and make changes and sacrifices in our own lives and hope that we can do that. We don't have to take private jets to Palm Springs for the awards sometimes, or back, please.
Wow, profound. Joaquin.
Yeah, good job, dude.
I mean, so I love how everybody's always just like private jets. It's private jets. It's like, it's a way of life, man. It's like, it's beef, it's private jets, it's China, India, America. We're such hypocrites, man. Like, I'm sitting here talking into a microphone hooked up to an adapter that, who do you think made this stuff?
Made in Cleburne, Texas.
Yeah, I don't think so. This ain't Louis Vuitton. This ain't no Louis V.
Mile in my Louis Vuitton. They don't wear them where I'm from.
Dude, I picked up, I live in the gayborhood here in Dallas, and I picked up a gay periodical the other day, and it had Lil Nas X on the front.
Yeah.
And the language or the copy on the front was, what was it? I think it was Black, Gay, and C&W rapper Lil Nas X. And I was like, is he officially gay?
Yeah.
Oh, like all the way gay, only gay. I thought he might experimental
be
with dudes or something at one point.
He came out on Twitter, said he was gay. For those that don't know, Lil Nas X is the dude that sang Old Town Road. It was pretty much impossible to skip, to miss that song last year.
It's because that song rocked.
Yeah, fantastic
love
song.
that
He also
song.
did the remix with Billy Ray Cyrus, and the song also had like 9 other remixes because he really rode the wave on that song.
Do you remember when he tweeted? He was like, "Wait, I gotta do something other than Old Town Road. I gotta make other songs."
Yeah.
No, man.
Honestly, he's a great troll on Twitter. Like, just always cracking.
Well, that's
jokes.
why when he came out as gay or whatever he said, I didn't believe it.
That actually wasn't a joke.
How did he announce? It wasn't like totally crystal clear either, was it?
No, there's like a hint of it on his album cover. I guess there's like a rainbow or something, and one of the fans pointed it out, and he just like kind of came out very casually.
I thought it was like vague, like liking dudes doesn't make you gay, but I am, or something weird, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, he was serious about that part.
Wow, that's so funny how like in some ways no group will have him. You know, I feel like well, I don't even know if I should say this or speculate on this, but it's been a known entity that in prison culture, especially, you're not supposed to be gay, and I believe that African American households have not been as accepting.
They're really strict on that.
As just a general thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or how to say that, but he was booted off the chart for country, right?
Yeah.
So country rejected him.
But then it wasn't like really a rap.
He's just like this thing. He's like this enigma that's out there where it's like he's all of these different things, but he made the biggest banger of 2019.
Yeah, the dude's an anomaly.
Yeah. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What'd you think about Panini? Did you see
Hey,
the baby
Panini,
came out?
Don't you be a meanie.
He tweeted out, he's like, "We put the baby on Lil Panini."
Oh, wait, is he on that song?
Yeah, they released it. It's his pinned tweet right now.
Oh, got it.
Look at me being more up on the rap game than B-Rad.
We just said they don't consider it rap, so.
Okay, whatever. None of it is Young Thug rap anymore. Or is that just like cry wobbling?
It's all like there's sub genres. Like it's.
Did you catch Barack's favorite songs of last year?
Yeah.
Did you see that Young Thug made it on the? I was so proud because, okay, weekly catch up people. B-Rad has never truly supported my true love for Young Thug.
Yeah.
I am a big Young Thug fan. I like that kind of genre. I like mumble rap to a certain extent, and I love his stuff. I mean, I love his stuff.
Yeah.
And it made it to Barack's favorites. I think Lizzo was on that list. Okay, you're just not going to contribute.
Lizzo?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, but
you don't like Lizzo?
Nah, she's been catching a lot of flack too.
For what?
Just being problematic. Oh, she quit Twitter.
Being problematic? What'd she do?
She's over here walking with her big hiney out at an NBA game and like literally just walking in like with a thong.
Yeah, did you catch her on SNL?
Nah. I watched the promos for SNL and it just was not funny to me at all. So I skipped that one.
She a little bit too thick for you, Brad?
Nah. Size.
She's too thick for me, I'll tell you that.
Well.
I think she's fat.
Well, all right.
Okay. I mean, when did that become illegal to say? Like, Lizzo is fat. We know that. She's a beautiful woman at the same time.
All right. Let's start with
the
that.
two are not mutually exclusive. She is a plump, oversized woman.
Yeah.
That is very beautiful. And I love her music. I love her charisma and her confidence. She's so unique. Like, her songs are so unique. When I first heard Truth Hurts, I was just like enthralled.
Yeah,
the first
I love
time
that one too.
I was driving and I'm like, whoa, I'm like, this girl isn't stopping. Like, you always expect on those songs, it's like, okay, that line was clever. Okay, that was clever. Okay, it's like, she's not letting up. Like, this song is truly unique. It's going to change something, you know?
Right.
And it did. But you're not having it.
He's all right.
All right, well, Brad doesn't think she's fat, but he also doesn't like her.
I didn't. It was just a little mean the way that you said it, and that's why she quit Twitter, because there's so many people hating on her weight.
Oh, I'm not trying to hate on her weight. I felt like you were dancing around this bush that's called being overweight.
No, she's clearly like fat. She's plus size, all right? Which would be the nicer way to say it.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I didn't even mean that mean-spirited. I've been fat, you know?
I'm chilling.
You're hunky.
Thanks, bro.
You're, what do they call it? Husky.
Yeah.
I grew to resent the term husky growing up because I was like, I've always been husky, but I've never been tall.
Yeah.
Something's wrong here.
Dad bods are in.
So is the unmitigated use of the word fat in any tone or context mean
I mean,
to
I don't
you?
think any fat person wants to just be like just say you're fat. I mean, I think there are technically nicer terms like overweight or plus size.
Well, a question for you. And I mean this genuinely. I don't want you to clam up or get defensive on me. Uh, I don't think people are running around saying you're fat to fat people. I think that when people are showing up to the NBA courtside in a thong and trying to pass off as though they're this is a little strange. Like maybe if you're a thin girl, maybe you're not supposed to do that.
And people were up in arms about that because they were like, if Rihanna was doing that, nobody would have a problem with it.
Everybody would be looking.
Yeah,
you know, it would.
Yeah,
either way, it draws
there's double
attention.
standards.
And it does draw. It is double standards, I guess. Yeah. Is it different if a person invites attention upon themselves in such a way that people
see? And that's my issue with her is like she is all this empowering like person, and I don't care what they say, but then she has to quit Twitter because people are being mean, and so it's like I understand people are hating on you right now, but you were also this person that was saying, "Oh, I don't care what all these people say. I'm who I am. I love myself."
That's not on brand to quit Twitter.
Right. And so that's why I'm just
problematic.
Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I never looked to her to be my virtue leader or my moral compass or anything other than the girl that sang Truth Hurts and the other jams that I like.
But I think she stands for something for like, you're a skinny white male. Like she means more to some people who are in her like demographic. You know what I mean? Like she symbolized something more like, oh, this big big girl can get up there and rap and it doesn't matter, you know, what she looks like maybe I can do that too, you know? Like, so yeah, it's not going to affect you as much.
I gotcha. Okay.
Like she brought hope to other girls that look like her.
I mean, she's brought hope to me.
I understand, but
I'm like, I'm not going to back down from my standards. Like, you can't. No men on the Minnesota Vikings, you know? I'm like, don't back down. Stand your ground. Like, that message is universal. I understand that when you're a young person that you're probably looking at some primitive age at people that look like you that you think that you could grow into or emulate in some way. I get that point. That being said, half of my idols or whatever were terrible people and totally didn't, measure up or whatever. I'm totally fine if she's NBA courtside in a thong. I think that's on brand. Mad respect. I think she is sexy in like this weird way. Yeah. She is overweight. I'm not going to beat around that bush. And I don't know.
I mean, okay, but this is like a public NBA game. Just because you're comfortable with it doesn't mean, there are more conservative people who are taking their kids to go see their favorite basketballs playing, expecting to see, a girl in a Lizzo in a thong. Like, that's the argument made, is that it's a public forum where there are children present and,
Well, what happens at halftime? Half a dozen scantily clad women run out and do the most provocative gyrations and dances I've ever seen. If you're courtside, it's mad awkward if you're sitting next to your parents or something, like, which is the only time I've ever sat courtside was that. And it's like, man, if you were here with the boys or something, this might. But even then, there's so many cameras and so many people looking for reactions and ways to tarnish you. And like, there's also, I'm a firm believer that you can check someone out, but like, don't gawk, don't leer. Like, I'll get mad at people for doing that,
right.
If it's, and I don't know what the line is, but you know what the line
keep
is.
It cool,
you know what I mean? Like
act like you've been here.
Be respectful, and like if you're walking with your girl and some guy takes a peek, but then he sees you and kind of out of respect, you get it. You might have even made eye contact with him, but if he is like breaking his chair or his back to crane around to watch all the way down the sidewalk, that we got an issue.
Yeah, it's like that cartoon of like the eyes popping out and the tongue like hitting the floor, like.
So
let's
Lizzo can wear whatever she wants to the game, given that it's fine. It's fine.
Another issue was it's not sanitary. her sitting on the chair. I am just providing what people are complaining
that
about.
was the major trending thing. Like, it's unsanitary.
Yes.
Oh wow.
I'm telling. And so that's just what I'm bringing up is like a lot of people were just finding a lot of things to complain about, and she got upset about it and she left Twitter.
So was the main culprit the booty sweat?
I mean,
what was that thing in Tropic Thunder that?
And then she was like at a Popeyes twerking like by the counter. Like she's just doing the most, and I think she was overdoing it, and people were just getting annoyed at that point.
Well, she doesn't have our perception of her as a breakout star because she's been doing this for a while, and for a while unsuccessfully. Like those songs are a couple years old at this point. They just popped.
Yeah.
And so I think that in some ways she's probably going crazy trying to capitalize on all of this and doesn't understand that, for instance, there's a difference between the morality of things and like what's right to say or is she fat or not, like all this different stuff. And then there's like best practices for creating a timeless, classy career. Like you have to separate these different things. Yeah. And what I would say to her is that, hey, like you're a symbol of empowerment to men and women across the globe. You are sassy. You have this fun brand. We love your songs. You're such a fun person. We want to see you in more sketches. Like, you know,
let's keep the dial on 8.
Your talent is such that you don't need to twerk in a thong at a Popeyes when you're already overweight. You can just, you can be timeless. Like you could maybe wear a little bit more cloth and let your talent speak for itself. And not to diminish the fact that she's sexy, but I've also seen there's some, you don't have to show skin to be sexy.
Right.
In fact, like, man, the right turtleneck.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Like, I've seen women that dress so well, but every inch of them is covered. You know what I mean? Like, there's different ways to do it. And I think there's also things that are just tasteful for acknowledging that you know what your body looks like. Yeah. And I'm not going to go out and wear spandex back when I was 205 pounds.
Right.
Yes. That's just my own personal dignity.
So like I said, I pointed out like all the issues people kind of had with it. And then overall people were just like, this just feels desperate. And that was the final takeaway that I kind of saw from that.
Well, that is my point is like, it's like, why are you stunting for this like virality right now?
Like you already have the talent.
Yeah. Like you need to save yourself. Like go behind, be Mariah, you know, save it for the morning show, save it for New Year's Eve, because right now you're on a roll and you don't need to be twerking in a Popeyes parking lot, you know, just save that for the YouTuber that's still up and coming that has to do that until their first single breaks. You know what I mean? Like, does nobody else view the pyramid that way? You know, like if you don't have money, you're probably twerking in the background.
Right.
If you have money and talent, you're probably the one with the microphone.
Yeah.
You know,
you're
like
chilling. Like you don't gotta do all that. Just chill at your home, work on those songs, drop them out in the summer, give the ladies something, you know, that empowers them, and then just disappear for a bit.
Give the men something. There's a lot of men that are into Lizzo. I think Lizzo is not bad to look at.
You're not wrong.
She's a beautiful woman, you know? I don't recommend thongs for her only, you know, like put jeans on over the thong or something, but I don't know.
Anyway.
That just seems like common sense, right?
You would think. What else you got?
I don't know. You're just going to continue baiting me with these like promiscuous stories of skin and scandal and like what my take is on it?
No. We haven't talked about football, man.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Former Green Bay Packers coach.
He seems I'm excited because he is the antithesis to Jason Garrett emotionally that I feel like we all needed. Like we needed more of the Belichick or more of the older, like stern, like this is going to be a
seasoned.
You're going to show up to practice.
Like we've been there before, you know?
Yeah. Like, does he have military experience or did he coach at Navy or is that just his face?
I don't know. I didn't look into that.
Well, will you give him a Google for me if you're going to bring it up? Goodness, you Google the porn star, you Google the Australia wildfire.
I'm sorry I didn't Google if Mike McCarthy had been in the Army. Yeah. My bad.
Well, ask Jeeves and let me know. No, but you get my point.
Never
The
mind.
military haircut. No, ask it. Ask it. Ask
I was
it.
gonna say, do you think Flint, Michigan uses Ask Jeeves?
Yo, they're on Bing for sure.
They're just jokes, people, as Ricky Gervais would say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been long enough, right? Like, if the water is still a problem in Flint after all these documentaries, maybe we're just not focusing on the right things.
Yeah, totally.
Are you really Googling, is Mike McCarthy?
Did you want to know?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you need to talk.
What's your take on it?
I am looking this up. Okay, I'm happy that he's the coach. I'm happy Jason Garrett's out of there. I think it's great that he's also coached Randall Cobb, who is now on the Cowboys.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so Randall Cobb, he had nothing but great things to say about him. And so I saw reports that he's not really looking to leave. Like, his wife's pregnant. They're ready to settle down in Dallas. Like,
Is it a contract year for Cobb?
I believe so. Well, yeah, I think after this season, like, he can dip out. He can opt out if he wants to, whatever that means. So he's planning on sticking around. I think he had a 1-year deal, 1-year contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so I read that he had nothing but great things to say. He said that Mike McCarthy is the one that helped, like, jumpstart his career, and he's excited about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think my main point with the military stuff is just he seems more like a militaristic type dude. Kind of close crew cut type.
All right. Mike McCarthy, his father was a firefighter and a Pittsburgh police officer, as well as a bar owner. He was raised as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He was a tight end at Scottsdale Community College before transferring to Baker University, which is a school located in Baldwin City, Kansas. So that's how he got his start.
Okay, so you've taken me 0 to 22.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that, like, he wasn't in the Army. No, he started out as assistant coach for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
And then he left Kansas City and became the Packers quarterbacks coach in 1999. That was the year that Brett Favre threw for over 4,000 yards.
4,000. Holler at me when you're at DAC status and getting 5,000.
Yeah. In 2005, he served as the offensive coordinator for San Francisco 49ers.
Okay, I'm not interested in the bio if it doesn't include an armed military branch.
All right, then we out.
I thought he might have, like, coached for a, you know how Air
Army
Force
or
and
Navy.
Navy and all the they have football and anyway. Okay,
it's a negative.
Thanks for humoring me there, dude. But so we've got him now. I don't really have a whole lot of insight on him. Happy he's here. Welcome to town, Mike. I know you're listening.
Yeah, shout out. I do have a quote from one of his former players. Could you guess which former player I'm talking about?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is correct.
Was there a text between the two of them?
I don't know about a text, but Aaron Rodgers was just recently interviewed, I guess yesterday or today, and the quote goes like this. He says he's talking about He's talking about Aaron Rodgers, all of his games that he has played in Dallas or against Dallas. He said, "We've had a lot of success down there, and I think that was probably one of the reasons that McCarthy took this job. We won the Super Bowl down there. We won some big games down there over the year. So I'm not surprised that Jerry had an infatuation with Mike because we've had some really good performances."
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that about Jerry too. It's like, if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got resiliency and track record for sure. It's just hedging your bets with a horse that's already won the race once, and created a successful program. I don't know. I hope Garrett lands somewhere if he wants to. I don't know if he wants to. Like, I've never pictured him as a coach other than the Cowboys. I almost feel like he's going to be like, okay, guys, like, I'm going to be the number one fan now.
I think the reason it took so long to announce is because he really wasn't letting go, and he was trying to find a position with the Cowboys, even if it didn't mean being head coach.
Well, wasn't he Troy's backup for forever?
Maybe
he was Troy's backup quarterback for forever.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's always kind of hung around.
Right.
And then little Opie got the job, the big job, you know.
Dude, you know what I was thinking?
Hmm.
How crazy would it be if Troy Aikman became, because he wants to be an owner.
Oh, I thought he wanted to be a coach.
No. He wants to own an NFL team. So how crazy would it be? You know, Jerry Jones and I feel like him have some camaraderie, and I think it would just be interesting if he could get under the wing and then take over.
Well, so a couple things on that.
Hit me.
I think that the viability of like a single owner or even owner family post Jerry Jones is not feasible with the Cowboys valuation, because the Cowboys, little known fact, not really, is like the most valuable sports franchise in the world. Like we're up there with, I think it's only like Manchester United and like, you know, the most premier English football teams, and like the Patriots actually are only worth 2 or 3 bill.
Yep.
We're worth like 4.5. Us, the Yankees, Manchester United, it's like the top representative American or whatever team from each league is valued in, you know, the high 3s or 4s.
Gotcha.
And actually, the Washington Redskins are worth a lot too.
Really?
Yeah, they're actually up there in like the top 10 most valuable franchises in anything.
Okay.
In NBA, can you guess?
Dallas Mavericks.
No.
Oh man.
The Lakers. Yeah, of course. In football, it's Cowboys. In baseball, it's definitely the Yankees.
Yeah.
In hockey, you want to venture a guess?
The Bruins.
Not a bad guess, I'm guessing, but I would think it would be the Bruins or the New York Rangers, or likely like a Toronto Maple Leafs or something like that.
Okay.
Like a Canadian team.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway,
all right.
So here's the deal. It's kind of like what happened with the Marlins. Do you remember when Derek Jeter retired and he bought, quote unquote, the Marlins? Or even Michael Jordan buying the Bobcats? You know,
Right.
It's a partnership deal. Like they have other investors, they have other silent owners. They have, typically in those types of situations, like you have the face. It's like, oh, we're partnered with Derek Jeter, and they use that to like fundraise and like get other people's money, and they invest that as part of their own and like give carries or however this is all working.
Okay.
Heston can set us straight, but he's not here. So the point being that when Jerry bought the team, he bought the team for what, $150 million?
Yeah.
It's now worth $4.5 billion. No one man can come up with that unless you're like a Bill Gates, a Jeff Bezos, and that could very well happen. But I think that the succession plan is, because Steven is so involved with the team, I think that what you're going to see happen is Babe Laufenberg, Troy Aikman, Mark Cuban, along with like 26 other people, are going to take a controlling entity within the Dallas Cowboys type deal.
Okay.
But I thought he had aspirations for coaching for some reason.
I could have swore I recently read manager, or GM.
GM. Well, that's totally different than.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess. Well, no.
Dude, GM is a totally distinct position. You're talking about being Steven.
Yeah, maybe I did mean general manager. I'll have to go back and look at it.
I'm not talking about Steven. Well, maybe I am now. For the longest time, Jerry Jones, one of the big beefs with him was that he was the owner, the chairman, and the GM, or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But isn't Steven now? I feel like Steven has fought his battles at times with his father and won. They definitely, Steven has influenced drafting decisions. I know that. Yeah. All of this kind of leads to my next question, which is, now that Mike McCarthy is wrapped up, are we going to focus our attention on making Dak our franchise QB, or what's happening there?
I don't see any reason not to at this point. Like I wasn't. Yeah, his stats are good enough. I think so.
Wait.
I don't know.
I'm not asking you like, should we look at him for that? I'm asking like,
how much money is he getting?
No, I'm just a linear thinker here. I'm saying, now that Mike McCarthy is done, we're gonna sign Dak to a big. And you're yeah, I think he deserves it. Like, you just showed me something there.
Yeah,
you're not convicted.
He's not. I don't think he should get as much money as he. Okay, so he was offered money this past summer?
I
I think because they went no,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they were in talks and he shut them down.
Huh. Okay.
And the fact that they went 8-8, I don't think he's going to make much more than he was hoping for.
Well, what was offered last summer?
Don't get me lying, man.
Okay. Well, I mean, just look at his company. Like, he's about to make the big contract, and that's been going for roughly $125 million for a set number of seasons to the Jared Goffs of the world. I mean, what is Patrick Mahomes? I would kill to have Patrick Mahomes.
That'd be crazy. Sidebar, Aikman admits eyeing general manager role, but not with the boys.
Yeah, that might... I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it would be almost too close to home for him to do that with the boys in some ways. Like, in some ways, he's got such a great legacy with the Dallas Cowboys that it's like, why come in and ruin it? You know?
Prescott turned down $30 million per year.
Per year?
Yeah.
Ooh, for how many years? That might be the catch. It might have been a 1-year deal or something. Or
I'm not seeing how many years, but it would have been for more than one.
$30 million per year or a $30 million contract?
Nope, $30 million per year.
Ooh.
he was seeking a $40 million per year. But like I said, they went 8-8. I don't think he's going to get that.
That's just incredible that a guy that practices about 20 miles up the street is commanding $40 million annually. Oh, man. I think he's a stand-up dude.
Yeah, I do too.
And
I mean, he's a great player. It's just, I'm not even saying it's his fault that we went 8-8, but whenever you have that kind of record, you don't have much wiggle room.
What'd you think about the Titans knocking off Pretty Boy Brady?
Loved it.
That RB that they have is a beast.
Monster.
I watched the highlights.
Everybody that wanted to lose last week lost. It was amazing.
Yeah. So who are we down to? Who do you have?
Goodbye Eagles. Goodbye Packers, right? Or no Packers are
in. Packers are in versus the Seahawks, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was the Eagles that lost. Yeah. So this week we have the Vikings and 49ers. We have the Titans and Ravens. We have the Texans and Chiefs. And we have the Seahawks and Packers.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go H-Town.
Go be more.
Oh, okay. I respect that too.
Yeah. I lived in Baltimore for a year. It's the only other place that I've lived for a year or more, other than Dallas, Texas. I lived in Mountain View for 4 months. I don't think that really counts. But Beemore is a special town. They only play their sports on grass, so historic Camden Yards. And M&T Bank Stadium, the year that I worked there, they just won the Super Bowl. I think I've told this story. But to see is it Lamar Jackson? To see what he's done up there, he is fun to watch, and to watch them be so dominant, that's going to mean a lot to that town. And go Ravens.
Yes.
Go Purple.
I respect that. I'm going to go for Houston, just because it's another Texas team, and I don't really care about really any of the other teams.
See, I feel
like they're a rival?
Well, yeah, I feel like anything Houston, it's like, I'm not going to support you because I want you to know that we're better than you. And I want everyone listening to know that if you're listening in Houston, we are intrinsically better.
I don't know, man.
Maybe
it'll light a fire under our butts. Maybe they need to win.
Ever since the
Astros
we can
show that we're the better Texas team.
It used to be more partial in some of these sports, or even city to city, because the Astros were in the National League. But now that they're in our league for the Rangers in the American League and in our division, I feel like the complexion has changed. Also, if you remember back, do you remember when the Houston Texans were an expansion team?
Yes.
And they played their first game on the road against the Cowboys or whatever, or maybe at home, and they beat them?
Yeah.
And, no.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at the list of other teams. I lived in D.C., which is close to Baltimore, but, I'm not going to go.
All right, Brad goes with the Ravens. Brad's pick is the Ravens. He's getting behind them.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Ravens, you got it.
All right.
Cool. Any other thoughts?
Don't go for Houston just because, it is down the street,
Yeah,
you take 35E, I think, and just keep going south.
Right, just loving my neighbor.
No, I mean I love H-Town in some ways, but
I mean, I'm not
I
going for the
don't.
Seahawks. I'm not going for the Packers. I'm not going for the 49ers. Like,
You're not a Russell Wilson fan. See, I'm
nah.
a fan of the story, like Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, great
going
story,
from
and he's a
being-
great player, but I am not going to root for the Seahawks.
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo plays for the 49ers, and
Right.
he's new to SF. They have a young coach over there. He might get Coach of the Year, I heard, and I think that's to see San Francisco be dominant like they were this season is amazing. That's a good story. Russell Wilson is a stand-up dude. The Seahawks have a great program. I love watching them play. It's a less compelling story. Lamar Jackson, probably the most compelling story. And the Ravens, like, they haven't done anything since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I saw Blindside. Like, I don't need another compelling story. I don't need a movie. Just give me the Texans. That'll make the Cowboys want to be the number one Texas team or the number one team in the NFL. Let's get this thing going.
You are to sports what white bread is to grains, okay?
All right.
You're just like, that's infuriating. This is why I like to watch golf, because it's all these individual stories coming together in this huge arc, and everybody is battling themselves and everyone else.
Yeah, and Tiger Woods sucks.
Oh, okay. This has been the weekly
teasing,
catch-up. I'm
teasing.
Carson Gibbons, and never thought I'd get to murder someone live on the air.
Ooh, do we finally have a murder podcast? Those are really popular these days.
Yeah. I'm going to murder my co-host and replace him by next week. Speaking of murder, have you watched You?
Yeah, baby.
Oh, so
I'm not gonna
Ellen
lie
and
to
I
you, my
have been
mom-
binging this, and
Yeah.
this is I just wanted to get to season 2 because I knew Chris D'Elia was in all of
Yeah.
season 2, and I was like, what does he do? What does he play? And so we watched season 1 over the last week or so.
Yeah.
And it was really cutesy. I liked it, and then it just got real dark. And I was like, I like that show.
Yeah.
And I like the way that
Have you started season 2?
Yes. And I feel like their depiction of the serial killer or
Yeah,
the
stalker.
serial stalker, predator, I think they get inside his mind and present it in such a way that is so compelling, because I think often they do think we're supposed to be together. The
Yeah.
reason I'm outside of her window in this garden is because I'm perfect for her, and she just needs to know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Season 2, it starts off slow, but man, by the last two,
Does it?
yeah,
Not for me.
the last 2 episodes.
Well, it seems like a trend. I mean, season 1 started off slow compared to
Yeah,
episodes
man.
9 and 10. I was like,
It
this
is
heated up.
It's a slow burn, but it's a wild ride.
So, when was the last time you looked in a window, Brad?
Last time I looked into a window,
Yeah.
can't recall a time ever doing that unless I'm window shopping, like for items,
All right.
not humans. Do you have a looking into a window story?
No.
Yeah.
I've seen people naked on accident,
Mm.
but never intentionally.
Got it.
Anyway, I'll work on getting that done before the next podcast.
Yeah. Well, let us know how it goes.
It's gonna be you, Brad.
The last thing that
The
I
way
wanna-
he says "you" now, I can't say "you" anymore because he's like, it's all
Hello,
about you. Oh, it's you. Goodbye, you. Like,
Yeah.
And honestly,
Oh,
because I just went through this like last night and the night before, I'm kind of depressed about Beck because I feel like we should all be with Beck in some ways. Like,
yeah.
Beck is perfect, and she was funny
Yeah,
and
she was great.
snarky, and when she comes back in season 2, I get a little choked up.
Mm. Yeah. Hey, you know why it's called You, right?
Where are you about to take this, you
Not a joke.
butt?
Do you know why it's called You?
Because he's always talking about you.
No. Okay, but why is it just titled You?
Because it could be any of us that are getting looked at.
No. So whenever I ask you, what are you watching on Netflix?
You.
I'm watching You.
Hmm.
Did you get chills?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was just waiting for you to corner me in some dad joke that made me feel like a butt. You're like,
No,
hey,
dude.
porn and racism and
It goes
Flint
along-
water. What are you going to do about it, Carson? You think it's funny? You think it's funny that people have bad drinking water and they have to sell their
Carson-
nudies?
Carson fat shaming Gibbons.
I didn't fat shame anybody. Called her a sexy woman.
I'm just teasing.
There are sexy fat people. I wish that I was one of them. There's different types of fat. I get fat in the way that a jiggly thing of Jello just kind of sloshes around.
Dude.
It's very feminine. It's like around my jowls. Meanwhile, I had a college roommate, my first college roommate. Overweight dude, very handsome because he was packed fat. And he would just get big biceps and big legs and a big swollen up chest. And like he wore it in such a way that he could have easily been 80 pounds heavier than me and shorter than me and not looked bad. You know?
Yeah.
I've technically been clinically obese on that whatever scale they have. That thing
Yeah.
is not forgiving. Like,
Nah, bro, I am.
which is not. You're not really, but I know that scale would say that you are.
Yeah.
Most of our listeners would be obese on that scale because that scale is ridiculous and
Crazy.
yeah, it's not indicative of like, and especially like muscle mass and different things like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
I just feel like you've been setting me up all episode and making me out to be the bad guy.
Not at all. And I know that you
Say something bad about yourself for our audience. What'd you do that was
Man,
bad this week, Brad?
Well, I'm too caring.
Oh my goodness. It's
I,
just
I
like,
put others before myself. Like,
what would Ricky Gervais say to you right now?
I can't say that on air.
Are you not you on air?
No, I am. I just wouldn't be able to say what he would say on air.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Way to get out of that one.
No, that's why I said it. The last thing that I want to bring up is
way to shut it down.
Dude.
You're like, in closing.
not in closing, but I just want to talk about Mac Miller, who was one of my favorite musical artists, rapper, who had passed away in 2018. And he has an album coming out next week entitled Circles. So
Creepy.
not creepy. He had been in the studio before he passed away.
Oh, okay.
This was supposed to be the second parter. So he had an album, which is one of my favorite albums, maybe of all time. It would definitely make my top 50 list.
Well, that went from
No, I think about this a lot. It could even make like my top 25 or 10. I just haven't made the list. So, and I listen to a lot of music, so making a top
and you make
50,
a lot of lists.
right?
Don't you do
I'm
one like
just
weekly?
Yeah. So I'm not trying to exaggerate whenever I'm saying I would put him on one of my top lists.
Okay, we get that you like Mac Miller. What is your point?
I would like to get there if you would shut up.
No, I'm saying get past yourself. You're like it'd be top 50, if not 40. I could even get it down to 30.
I'm giving him his roses. The dude's passed away, and that album means a lot to me.
We all love
so
Mac
I'm
Miller.
I'm just talking
I love
about
you,
it.
Brad.
You don't know what the listeners have listened to. You don't know that they've listened to Swimming.
You know our moms are up on Mac Miller, dude.
They're not. Anyway,
Sorry to bust your chops.
so his last album before he passed away was entitled Swimming. This one is entitled Circles. So it's basically like a two-parter. It's supposed to be like a dual album, Swimming and Circles. And I hate you.
Keep going.
No, I hate you.
I didn't do anything.
He has an album coming out next Friday that I'm really excited about. So that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, that was it.
Well, I was going to go into it more, but...
Oh, no, please do.
Nah, dude, I've lost my steam for it now.
No, I'm gonna drag it out of you.
Nah, dude.
No, you're gonna talk to me about
I
Mac
didn't
Miller.
think I was going to get another album from him, and that album meant a lot to me.
I
His
thought
album
that it
Swimming
had been
meant
on
a
the
lot.
radar. That's why I said
No.
creepy. I wasn't trying to be a douche about that. I was trying to say like, oh, I didn't know that this was widely anticipated. But you're telling me that it wasn't.
This was not announced. So it was literally announced today, and the album is coming out next week.
Well, yeah. That's good. No, I'm
All right,
serious.
dude. Yeah, great. Glad we're both excited for it.
No,
You don't
Brad,
listen, man. I was just excited about it. You don't have to
can't
be. It's okay.
beat on me for an hour and then be like, "Why did you snap at me?" It doesn't work that way.
Are you mad at me? Or...
Yeah. You don't get to
Hey,
put me in the book cage and then.
Are we good?
Are you gonna K me?
No, it's just an album that I'm really excited about.
No, that makes sense. I like Mac Miller. Thanks for putting that on my radar. I think the bigger thing there that I'm confused about sometimes is like Nipsey Hussle did a song with YG. Was that contemporaneously? Like all these holograms and songs coming out after the fact, all these vaults that are getting unlocked and re-looped by DJ Khaled or somebody. Like
Well,
I'm
yeah,
confused
like
about
these.
post-mortem recording.
I mean, these artists, like there are still artists that are alive whose verses like are being used today whenever they recorded them years ago. Like sometimes they just have them in the vault and they're like, oh, I need a new radio song, and they'll just like toss a Lucy to like one of their friends and
I get that.
put their vocals on a track and call it a day. Like there have been several Nipsey Hussle features,
Investigative Nipsey Hussle.
right, that have been released since his death. Like he had a song with The Game, he had a song with DJ Khaled. Like there are multiple songs because he.
I'm not ready for that. Like
I am like I want more, man. Like
no, I guess
to
you're
know that
right.
there are still some
It
songs
just
out there and I haven't heard their last song. Like I love that.
right, and like in some ways, I'm kind of bummed that it's like you weren't putting all your good stuff out there. Like this is just, and of course, it's just a sampling of like their greater body of work or whatever is in the vault. That
Who's
makes
to say that they
complete
weren't?
sense.
They came out with an album and they were working on a new one, so there are vocals out there who like they didn't plan on dying. So
I know it's just
so they were working on their next album and now these vocals are being released. It's not like they were just keeping them like all of them in the tuck.
no, I understand. You're a Black Mirror fan, right?
Yeah, Black Mirror's great.
I'm just saying that like the whole digital you, Brad.
Yeah, me.
The whole digital you and like the idea of like uploading your consciousness to a pod or freezing yourself, like could we transfer our souls to a line of code, memories,
Yeah.
just all of these different things. It's in that vein for me in a weird consumer way. And sorry if I'm making like a big deal out of this for nothing, but at
No,
the
I
same
get
time,
what you're saying.
it
But in
wasn't
Black
always
Mirror,
that
like
way.
it's
You
like
used to
uploading
either-
your consciousness. Like so, you're technically still
understand,
alive. Like this is
but they
stuff
use-
from the past.
with stuff from the present.
I think it's more weird whenever they do like holograms at concerts and recreate concerts. That's more weird for me. But just to hear somebody's work, that's like reading books from somebody who's died. Like,
Is it not? But when you present it, I think it's the presentation layer. Like if the Game tweets out like new track with the homie Nipsey Hussle,
yeah,
isn't that slightly weird in a weird way to you? Because it used to be when you were growing up, you were either listening to somebody that was dead and had long been dead, likely,
Yeah.
or they just made it and it just came out.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's my main point.
I guess it just depends on how it's used. Like The Game within the song, like he talks about losing Nipsey, and you hear Nipsey's verse in that song as well. And for me, it was like more meaningful and impactful rather than weird. But I mean, I could definitely see where you're coming from, and I definitely think, depending on who is in charge of their vocals once they pass, I think they can definitely abuse that and just put it out in order to make them or the estate or some family some money. And I definitely disagree with that, but I'm never like creeped out by it.
Yeah, and my bad for I think weird is too much of a catch-all phrase for me or catch-all
Mhm.
term that I'm using loosely at the end of a long day.
Yeah.
But I don't mean that in a disrespectful way or
Yeah.
a creepy vibe. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think it just convinces me of how immaterial we are in the grand scheme of things and what a speck we are in that. Like, I'll give you another example. Like Ty Dolla $ign with his music, his vocals, the fact that his vocals are sometimes just like he'll do his own beat or melody, like
Mhm.
he'll do his own unique sound or whatever it is. And the fact that he was talking about kind of licensing that to other artists and how he would just end up being like a part of the software system almost. Like,
Right.
I get really emotional around things like that. I feel like,
Why?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Just like, I think that we're all in this portion of our lives where do you ever like try to vet how you should spend your time or what goals you should be building towards, like which goals are going to make you feel the best at the end of the day and at the end of your life versus what you've been told?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
For me, like this album coming out next week, it's like a celebration of who Mac Miller was, and like just being able to rally around like his music one more time. And it's something that he had worked hard on. Like it was, I believe, already close to like post production, so everything was tied together. And then
They probably delayed it.
right. And I feel like his family took the appropriate amount of time, and like it wasn't just like a money grab. They came out with a really heartfelt letter that came along with the announcement today, and I just think it was handled really, really well. And so, for me, I'm just like, man, I finally get like this one last album, and it's going to be even more special because we know it's going to be the final one. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that.
Or is it? Are they going to dig into the vault 10 years from now and do a commemorative 10th anniversary?
I mean, well, a commemorative 10th anniversary is just like re-releasing and then like maybe putting one.
No, I feel
like
you.
they're not going to come out with another like new album by him.
I echo your sentiment. That is a unique position for an estate deceased artist to be in, and losing him was it just felt pretty unnecessary and kind of frustrating in a weird way. Like he had a lot going on for him.
Him and Nipsey. Two different types of deaths, but
yeah, I mean the Nipsey thing is like egregious. It's like that one you feel more of a loss in many ways because it wasn't his choice. With Mac, at least it's like, I don't have the same people that like commit suicide or OD or whatever. Like, I don't have the same resentment towards them as others do. I feel like, like sometimes I take them at their decision. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I've gotten emotional and I've shed tears over 3 celebrity deaths. 2 of those are Mac Miller and Nipsey Hussle. And the third is Chester he was the lead singer from Linkin Park. And he's an artist that did take his life, but he has a song called Heavy, which is on one of his last albums, in which, he talks about life being so heavy and everything. And then for him to take his own life like that, it just, in the moment, like it just made me pretty emotional. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
How many summers do you have left?
Of?
Life?
I
wrote out 1989 to 2079 the other day.
What do I got? Like 50 something?
Okay.
50, 60 something?
You ambitious son of a gun.
Yeah, catch me.
All right, man. Well,
catch me out there.
Catch me out there making lists.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I'll hit you with my. Yeah, as soon as I turn 70, I'll hit y'all with that top album list.
All right. Well, we're off to research Mike McCarthy and his military roots and
That's
Iran.
Right. And I'm gonna get Carson a vocabulary book.
A vocabulary book. Just the synonym for weird, please.
Synonym for weird.
Thesaurus for weird.
Then, yeah. All right.
All right, we're off to research all of that. Thanks for getting together, man.
Of course.
You're not mad at me, right?
Absolutely not.
I'm definitely mad at you.
Okay, as you should be.
Well, thanks for beating me to a pulp. And
yeah, I just want the world to. Hey, if I need to say it on the air, I will. I did not mean to say anything to paint you in a negative light.
No, I'm giving you crap. Your choice of whenever you choose topics, I'm always like, what is he doing?
Well, and I should have brought the Wildfire Australian one up beforehand, and I thought about doing it on my way here, but it just completely escaped my mind. But I wanted to let you know that like I wanted to bring that topic up, but then like give you the wheel, and like I didn't mean to.
What is that about?
Well, like I worked. Talking about pornography, like that's something that I feel like I have to tiptoe around, like
right.
Working at a
and by doing that
school.
with my personality style, I'm like he's leading me in a way that he wants me to laugh. Like I would present it like, hey, have you caught this devastating Australian fire? Really interesting like fundraising scenario where a webcam girl was selling her pics in exchange for donations.
I just feel like
and
you
you're
have
like, so
I just feel
those girls that do that thing.
I just feel like you have certain liberties that I may not, and so like I just want to set you up, put the ball
because I'm the bad guy, right?
No, you're not the bad guy. You won't catch heat from from other people like within
Man, I'll
your
catch
job
heat.
if they were to listen to this. And like I said, I want to be respectful and try to talk about it like in a more conservative way, especially because I have like younger kids listening.
So what's interesting to me is that the topic or the material is not necessarily
I
offensive
just
for your kids
no,
to hear.
I just think
it just can't come out of your
no,
mouth.
I just think you can verbalize it in a better way. And sometimes I get embarrassed about it. Sometimes it's not something that I even personally, I guess, feel comfortable talking about, but like I know it's okay to talk about it. And so I like how you discuss the politics and some of the more racier topics that maybe I don't even have the guts to talk about.
Huh. Well, now you've made me feel even worse. I'm like, oh,
No,
Brad.
no, for real.
So you
Like,
let me
I
take
know,
the stabs at something that might be problematic in certain ways.
yeah, I think you can navigate that better, honestly.
Yeah. Well, actually, that means a lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
It really.
yeah, I would never.
It's
like
a weird
I'm not
thing,
digging
though.
at you.
It's a weird thing because I've always kind of felt that where I'm like, can we go there? Like,
Yeah.
can we talk about this elephant in the room? And I've experienced, in many ways, so much success from just getting it out there.
Yeah.
What?
Like
what-
I know people.
What are you laughing
No,
about?
because like I know listeners like they want to hear some of that stuff, but at the same time, like I don't always feel comfortable. Like I don't mind that it's out there. Maybe I just need to take more time to figure out how I want to present it. But I always trust you, like just doing it off the cuff.
Yeah, and I technically, it's a proven strategy, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
hey, so there's this webcam girl, and I'm like, did you catch Pornhub's year in review infographic last week? Like,
Yeah, man.
makes me sound like a pervert or something.
Listen,
I actually heard about that on a podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
it
that's
wasn't on
fair.
their terms
That's
of use.
and so I don't want any listener to think that like I'm trying to bait you and like paint you in a certain light.
You're
It's
trying to
because-
get me to act up and get smacked up.
You
Shout
know,
out, Gerald.
I bring up certain topics like pink taco, and I just expect you to land the plane.
That
That's
one
all.
was inconsiderate. That one was just like, hey, I'm going to put Carson in the cockpit of a plane headed into the mountain and see, does he graze the top or just go nose in? And that one...
I feel like you should be more concerned if I didn't trust you with this topic, like me just being stiff and not bringing it up at all. Because
you're like, if I wasn't challenging you, I wouldn't believe in you.
Yeah. And so maybe that's not exactly fair to you, but at the same time, I do want you to know that I trust you to handle these. And I may blush and get like,
oh, I live for those
tongue-tied.
I love it when I see you tense up.
But we are here to talk about what's going on in the world, and that was a big story this week. So I'm glad that we were able to talk about it, and thank you for taking the reins on that one.
It's been an interesting exploration of like what makes the topic raunchy or problematic. Like, because we've abided by no swearing on this podcast. We've done a pretty good job of that.
I've only had to insert the bleep once for you.
Pretty bleeping great job of that. And I'm proud of that. That's how I would have it. I was talking to my parents about that the other day, and they were almost referencing you as more of the mitigating force on that. And I was like, well, hey, like, it's my decision too. Like,
yeah, of course.
Like I've been pretty respectful and good, and that's how I would want to portray myself for this podcast. Yeah. Maybe I'll do one in the future that's more Stern-esque. I don't know, but the point being that we've made this point before. We've talked about adult thematic elements and topics and done it in a respectful way, I like to think, while remaining relevant somewhat.
Yeah, and I think sometimes tiptoeing around it lends to more humor.
Oh, yeah.
At least on my end.
Guess we'll see when we listen to this, won't we?
Yeah, whenever we get that feedback.
Got any shout-outs?
Not really, not this week.
I didn't tell this story on the podcast last week. I think we're about to hit time, but I sent a guy. Did I tell the story? I sent a guy a LinkedIn message. He was in the HR.
Oh,
industry.
it was my roommate. It ended up being my roommate.
Yeah, I think I told that to you off air, so you just ruined it. But I sent a guy a LinkedIn message because I'm targeting HR executives and people, like chief people officers, culture officers in my new position. And so I'd reached out to him on LinkedIn, and he'd actually hit me back and said, "Yeah, man, I listen to your podcast every week. I'm friends with Brad." His name is Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron.
Shout out
Cameron Burks.
because I wanted to mention him last week.
Yeah.
I hope he listens to this episode.
Yeah, he
But
will.
that was a trip for me.
And his daughter turns 2, and we're celebrating his daughter's birthday this weekend. So
Snap! Y'all are intimate friends.
yeah, man. Happy to see you this weekend. Yeah, he's my
It's
old
a
roommate,
small
bro.
world, people.
Yeah, that's my boy.
All right, y'all. Shout out to him. Shout out to Gerald for his tweet. I loved that in the wild tweet. That was one of the most viral tweets we've gotten. With a whole 4 retweets. What's up, everybody? Hello, ladies.
Maybe we'll be trending on Twitter and we can talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, thank everyone for tuning in. We love
don't
you all.
thank everyone for thank you to everyone for tuning in.
No, I'm telling you to thank them.
Oh, thanks everybody.
Yeah. Once again, we appreciate all the listens.
All right, y'all. For episode 14, Wednesday, January 8th. Thanks for doing this twice in the new year already. 2020. We're in the roaring 20s now, Brad. Let's play us out now. Take it away, David.
All right, and we'll catch you up next week.